I'm your host, Al Pollard. I pray that everyone is doing well this evening. We have a very special show in store for you tonight. We have Erin Davis. She is a family advocate for Schaefer Cox. Miss Carol Bundy, she's expected to be on, but she's currently at a meeting. But I just spoke to her son-in-law just a few minutes ago, and they said that she will be on. Just give her a few minutes, and she will be on. I've been having some technical difficulties with my internet, so folks, bear with me. I have one of my friends helping me out here, Angie Linder. She was one of our hosts here at one time. Can you hear me, Angie?
I hear you loud and clear.
I'm sorry, I had my
Awesome. Cool. Folks, we got a lot of stuff going on. The traitor judge, Anna Brown, she's done everything she could to sack the first trial against our political prisoners, the same trial in which they were found not guilty. And she had a testimony of 4 of the witnesses struck from the record from the last trial, and so they cannot be used in this upcoming trial. And those 4 witnesses are Brand Thornton, Matthew Detheridge, of course, the informant that turned on the federal government and testified on behalf of our defendants, Terry Linnell, otherwise known as Mama Bear, and the Reverend Franklin Graham. They've had additional charges brought against them all, and basically, folks, she's doing everything she can just to make it so that they don't have a fair trial. She come out, I believe it was last week, and said that she and only she would decide if they are innocent or guilty. But she's already has it in her mind that they are guilty before the trial even begins, because she said that our people do not have the right to a jury trial, which is completely a violation of their constitutional rights to a jury trial. We've got tyrants that are sitting in public office that should not be there, folks. It says in the Amendment number 6, in all criminal prosecutions, not some, not the ones that the judge decides, but in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. Here's another key piece: to be confronted with the witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and have assistance of counsel for his defense. Folks, she is trying to suppress the truth. She does not want the names of the witnesses, that is, the informants that witnessed, what supposedly witnessed crimes being committed. She's suppressing their names and not allowing their names to be brought forth, but yet they're bringing forth testimony or so-called evidence from these so-called witnesses, the informants, folks. That's a traitor, and she will be held accountable. I'm telling you, we are living in Nazi Germany, basically. She stated in open court that they didn't have the right to a jury trial. In open court, folks, she did this. We've got quite a few political prisoners here. Shia LaBeouf, of course, Schaefer Cox, Ammon Bundy, Dave Harold Bundy, Cliven Bundy, Melvin Bundy, Brian Bundy, Greg Burleson, Brian Cavalier, Blaine Cooper, Gerald DeLemus, Scott Drexler, Todd Engel, Dwight and Stephen Hammond, Corda Q, Richard Levelin, Michael McGuire, Weidenbach was found not guilty. Joseph O'Shaughnessy, Eric Parker, Jason Patrick, Brian Payne, Jake Ryan, Peter Santilli, Stephen Stewart, Jason Woods, Sean and Sandy Anderson, Dylan Anderson. Of course, Jeff Banter was found not guilty. We've got Jason Blomgren, Sean Cox, Dwayne Amer, Wesley Kajar, Eric Flores. Of course, John Hersheimer took his plea deal. Jeffrey Stanek, and of course, Darrell Thorne. Neil Wampler was also found not guilty in the first trial, along with David Fry and a few of the others that I've named above. But most of them are still being locked up without the privilege that it shouldn't even be a privilege because it is a right to be given bail. Folks, we are in some serious times here. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Erin. I believe she's online with us.
Yes.
Are you there, Erin?
Yes, I am, Tal. Thank you very much for having me tonight. It's just a travesty what's going on in this country, and our founding fathers would be turning over in their graves right now.
Absolutely. So tell us what happened with Schaefer Cox.
Well, he was
How people.
He was a bright young man up in Alaska. He ran for office. He won 38% of the vote in a three-way race. He was a Bible-believing Christian follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. He was a very inspirational speaker, and he was all about liberty and freedom. Of course, he spoke about the Second Amendment as well, and like in the case of the Bundys, they sent in these confidential informants. I call them CIs and human resources, HRs. And you know, when these guys go in undercover, the defendants or the victims, I like to say, are the hostages. They don't know that they're being set up for entrapment, and they're not read their Miranda rights. So that's the problem we have here, among others.
Not only that, I believe that's against their Fourth Amendment right, if I'm not mistaken. They had warrants issued against them without probable cause that were signed by a judge, I'm sure. So what was it that Schaefer Cox was charged with and found guilty of? Well, he's not been found guilty yet, has he?
Well, yes, he's already been in jail now in Marion, Illinois, for the last 6 years. He was found not guilty in the state of Alaska. Then the feds came in, and they almost like double jeopardy. They tried him again on other charges, and there was a bunch of weapon charges. Some of them were like for silencers, where he had a water hose with shaving cream. They called it a silencer. He had a replica machine gun that didn't even work, but they showed a video of a fully functioning machine gun in the courtroom. They didn't allow any exculpatory evidence. It was just a complete kangaroo court, and he hasn't had his appeal yet. He's up on appeal now, 6 years later, because he couldn't find anyone that would work with him. And his appeal is due, I think, for answer in about a month's time. But in the meantime, he's been locked up in a CMU, and I want everybody to find out what these CMUs are. It stands for Communication Management Unit. It's also known as CTU, Counterterrorism Unit. It's run by the people in Virginia, and it's like a black site, like operated, in the black budget, like Blackwater, where if you do a FOIA request, Freedom of Information request, you cannot get information on this company because it's not a government or operation. And in this situation, in this prison, it's far more restricted than a supermax. They're allowed no communication with the media. Their First Amendment rights are suppressed. They're not allowed to have contact visits with their family. He's 3,000 miles away from his 6-year-old daughter, who he's only had a visit with once, which was this summer, thanks to a lot of donations. His kids were allowed to fly down with his mom. And he was out in general population for 6 months out of the last 6 years, and that was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago in the summertime, and that's when we got his kids down to see him, because his mom doesn't want his kids to have to see him through glass, you know, and he was able to hug on his kid, which was a miracle. And then right after that, he was thrown back into the CMU, and he had a phone call with his pastor, Wiley Drake. I think you know him from California. He's familiar with the Bundys. And
yeah, I met Wiley Drake in D.C. at the rally we did there in D.C. He's a good man. I like it.
Yeah, we love Wiley Drake, and I think he's one of the most active patriots in the country, and certainly a man of God that we appreciate very much. And he had a phone call with him, and Wiley put it on his radio show, and then they threw Schaefer back into the CMU, and they took away all his privileges, phone calls and visits and commissary for 90 days. Again, so he can't even make phone calls now for 90 days. And I think there's about 38 guys in this CMU. It's top secret classified information who is in the CMU. And most people don't even know what a CMU is. But I suspect that if this Judge Brown in Oregon is able to get her way and somehow finagle a guilty verdict, she's going to have all these political hostages thrown in the CMU. And that's what I'm most concerned about.
So we've got a very concerted effort going on with Mr. Trump. We've sent videos to him via his Twitter page. Hopefully Susan DeLemus is in contact with him, because we know that Jerry DeLemus was his campaign manager in New Hampshire.
Wow, that's great.
Hopefully we can get this going on.
I sure hope so. I did see a video from Sheriff Clark. I didn't realize that he did a radio show, and I just heard a bit of it last night, and it sounded like he knows what's up when it comes to the property rights west of the Mississippi.
Oh yes, he's definitely on. He's out there in Milwaukee, so he knows what's going on.
Thank God.
Okay, I just got a message from the Bundy Ranch here. They sent me a text here. So the lawyers showed up to discuss details, and the meeting is going longer than expected with her. She says she will definitely call in before the show ends, but she apologizes for being late. She will be on. Carol Bundy will.
I heard the BLM just offered her several millions, like $52 million for her property. I hope she talks about that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I hope she also turns them down for it.
Yeah, I do too, you know, and I'm in this fight, and I've been in this fight for, at least since 9/11 or, 2010, I've been in this fight against the tyranny. But, I look around the country, and I am part of the Patriot Mail Project, which I encourage everyone to sign up for on the Facebook page. It's where we write to a political prisoner every week. We get a list. It's very organized, and we have a different person to write to every week, and I know they appreciate it. It's a little encouraging, when they're in jail, but I don't know. I look around this country, and of course, in 10 days everything could change, Lord willing, but I'm so disappointed because it's gone this far. And if I was Carol Bundy, I might be tempted to take that $52 million and move to an island. This is crazy how this has gone so far. If the Cowboys and the Indians would team up together, maybe we could get this sorted out. I saw a meme about that, and I thought it was really great.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there's a lot of the same stuff going on with within the upper ranks of the Native American tribes, a lot of liberalism there too, unfortunately. You know, the same thing with their governments, the same thing that's been going on with ours. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of division going on, trying to keep them from uniting with the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys have reached out to them numerous times. Oh my God, those Patriots have reached out to them numerous times, and they've spread a lot of misinformation about us.
Yeah, that's too bad. It's just drama. I think people feed off the drama, and I really don't have any hope until Jesus Christ returns. I'm sorry to say that, but that's my honest feeling.
Well, we've got a little bit of hope with someone who's told us that he's heard our cries.
Mm-hmm.
But it's up to us to hold that person's feet to the fire, as well as the ones that got elected.
Yeah.
I'm around, just the president, but the senators and the congressmen, all of them, you know, it's time.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to keep our mouths open and shouting it from the rooftops.
Amen. We will.
We put them there for a reason, and if they don't do what we put them there to do, then they can go.
Yeah. It's like the Twilight Zone upside down world, you know. We've got what's right is wrong and wrong is right, and they think we're working for them, but they're working for us.
That's it. We are the boss. We are the government. Not the ones that are there, but we are the government. And anytime that they decide they're going to try to pass an unconstitutional law, we need to be shouting from, you know, blowing their phones up, and emails and all of that. Mm-hmm. And no, we don't agree with this because this is unconstitutional.
We've done a redress of grievances here in Dallas several times, and it just doesn't seem to get us anywhere. It's like blowing in the wind. That's
when you go stand in the streets and protest in front of their offices until they listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been involved with a guy here, a good friend of ours. His name's Bob Smiley, and he's advocating and working really hard at the courthouses and passing out jury FIJA, fully informed FIJA, fully informed jury association.org brochures to people that are going into the courthouse. So hopefully we can get some people educated. That seems to be the problem, is a lack of education. I really appreciate Chris Ann Hall and her education. You can listen to her every day on GCN.
Chris Ann Hall?
Yeah, she's coming to Dallas. We're having an event. She's speaking at my old church. It's in Fair Park Bible Fellowship on March 29th. I think she's going to be doing some sort of an educational seminar for people. I hope a lot of people turn up for that.
She's really good. We had her on our show one time early last year, and she came on and she was just like wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What she had to say.
I did hear someone advocating for her to join the Trump team or to educate the Trump team, and I thought that was a fantastic idea. You know, we have...
It would be an awesome idea.
Yeah, we've got no victim, no crime. I think that's a great tagline. And the other thing to think about is thought crime, and where's the line? I keep trying to get hosts of shows to do a show on thought crime, because if there's no victim, there's no crime in the case of a lot of these guys that are hostages in jail, like Schaefer Cox, for example. I watched an HBO documentary about the cannibal cop. He was in New York City, and he had used the police computer system to stalk his victims. He purchased all the equipment to eat his victims and cook his victims, and he talked online with people, you know, to lure a woman in to eat her. And he was arrested and he was charged and it went to trial. And I think because I call him a Satanist. I mean, anybody who's not for Christ to me is Antichrist. And because he was that type, he got off free. He's walking around free today. Cannibal cop.
You mentioned someone was passing out the
Yeah, that's Bob
He just,
Smiley. He does it in Waco. Of course, you might have heard about that biker shoot up in a restaurant down in Waco, Texas. He's helping to educate the jurors and the public down in Waco, and he's also doing it out in Fort Worth. He passes out the flyers.
is he also passing out constitutions along with those?
I think he
So
does. Yeah,
that
I think he does. And he's got a lot of Schaefer Cox information he passes out too. He's very active. He has his own family, but he knows that the future for his kids is not so bright if we don't have fully informed juries. It's a sacrifice, you know. And as far as this overpasses for America, standing on the highway or standing in the streets, it just goes to show what a sad state of affairs our media is, where we have to stand out on cold and dangerous streets to educate people on what's going on in our country. The media is pure garbage, and when they call each other fake news, I have to laugh because they're all fake news. None of them would report on this usurper. And you know, eight years ago, a lot of people tried to warn the country that we had an illegal POTUS in the office, and nobody wanted to hear about it, and there was crickets on the news stations. Nobody would touch it. So what do you expect, you know? Here we have a illegal invasion on our borders. We got an illegal immigrant in our White House.
I thought it was absolutely spot on, perfect, and hilarious at the same time yesterday. You know, I was at work all day, but when I got home and I turned on the news just to catch up, I'd already heard about it when I clicked on my Facebook and what went down, but I had to look at it myself. But I turned on the news and I was like, oh my God, he really did do that, didn't he? But CNN reporter tried to pester Trump for a question. He said, "You're not getting a question from me. You're fake news."
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, yes, he did it.
Yeah, the smartest thing he ever did in his campaign was tweet the Twitter feed. He was able to get his message out without a bunch of lies.
And it's free advertising.
Yeah, it's great. So smart.
Everything to ask for. But like I said, we elected him to do a job based on the promises that he made to us as Americans. And it's up to us now, us, to hold him accountable. And we get all these little liberal media outlets saying, well, the media needs to be holding him accountable. Well, where was the media the last 8 years holding this one accountable that disguised himself as a president?
Yeah.
The same one who has thrown all of our people in prison on trumped up fake charges. You know, here's what I never could figure out, and I'm glad. You know, I tried to send a message out to our people facing trial in Oregon, and apparently the message got through because Ryan Bundy brought it up in open court, and I was like, wow, he must have heard. But, you know, the federal government in these cases are the victim, the prosecutor, the judge, and even in some cases the public pretenders.
Amen.
They all work for the same entity. Now, how is that going to be a fair trial at all?
It's not. They win 97% of their cases. And, you know, it's the whole story of, like in the Bible, where the government fears the people. We need that here. That's the only reason Pastor Kent Hovind got out of jail. I don't know if you know his story. Have you heard of Pastor Kent Hovind, the evolution, the creation science evangelism? He was he was locked up for 10 years on structuring charges, which is the stupidest law in the world. It's taking your own money out of your own bank account. He got locked up for doing that. And then when he was just about to be released, he was thrown another charge called mail fraud, mailing a Liz Pendence, a buyer beware letter to about his real estate that they confiscated, that it was still under some kind of court proceedings. You know, he planned to get his property back when he got out. And he mailed the letter from jail to, I think, to the court. I'm not sure on the details of the legal stuff. I'm just good at making noise and shining light. And so Gideon's Army, that's what we call ourselves. We made as much noise and as much light as we could, and that federal judge, her name's Margaret Casey Rogers, who said that he was worse than a rapist, which he's not, for taking his own money out of his own bank account. And because we made so much noise and light, she had to let him go. And it was the first case won. It was the first case won in I don't know how long in federal court, because they, they, like you said, they stack up the charges, and they stack up the judges, the whole system stacked against the victim, who was the pastor in this case. But anyway, he's free today. He's free today, and he's building Dinosaur Adventureland 2.0, I call it, because that's what he had in Florida when they took him to jail 10 years ago and stole 10 years of his life. And now he's actually going for, he's holding them accountable for what they've done, and he's proven that what he did was not illegal. That's what Dennis Hastert went to jail for, I think, or got in trouble for, was the Speaker of the House for taking money out of his own bank account. It's called structuring. Most people never even heard of it. Most people just think it's some kind of tax evasion, but it's not. He's paying his own bills, He's paying cash to buy supplies to build the amusement park. It was like a creation science amusement park for kids to learn about creation science.
It sounds like it's a law designed to keep them from being able to keep you from not letting them know what you do with your own money.
Exactly.
That's want to keep track of.
That's right.
What it sounds like.
It was designed for drug dealers, and he's never even drank alcohol in his whole life.
Oh my God.
So we put together a big campaign and got him out of there with Lord's help.
Well, that's what we need this day and time, as the Lord's help. Just, I'm a firm believer that back in September, during the trial, the first trials, it was only God.
Amen.
People from being only God. All the prayers that went up for our people from everyone else, including myself, I believe that was that, and the fact that they put God on trial. Said, you're not bringing God in our courtroom. You can't read from the Bible. You can't read from the Constitution in this courtroom.
That's crazy.
And they even, Anna Brown even had the nerve to tell a lawmaker that she didn't have the authority to determine what the law is.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that.
Now, they're getting ready to put God on trial once again, and with the same exact result. You put God on trial, God's going to show up and show out every single time.
Yep.
I pray that they try to bring God up again in the courtroom and she shuts them down, because God's not going to take too kindly with that.
Yeah. This Jezebel judge in Florida, she wouldn't even allow people to open their Bibles in the courtroom.
That's sad. We had a pastor on our show about a month ago. Might have been about a month. He was from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the case. His name is Michael Salmon. And they locked him up, but get this, for holding a Bible study in his own home.
Oh. Yeah, that's like Joe Robertson for having a pond on his own property.
Joe Robertson.
Yep.
Having 3-stop ponds that he had the proper permits for now.
Right.
And she caught them, the EPA, he caught them a couple times going on his property and draining his ponds out. And, of course, it caused drudge material. But the funny thing is, they charged him with contaminating the water supply, a violation of the Clean Water Act. But yet the nearest water source is 60 miles from his home.
60 miles away. That's ridiculous.
Miles away. The nearest water source.
That's ridiculous.
He's facing 15 years in prison.
15?
He's never been in trouble his whole life.
That's crazy.
The judge ended up giving him 6 months on each charge and run it back to back to back. 18 months. Since he's been in there, he has twice suffered the symptoms of a stroke.
Oh.
He's had pneumonia. They're not treating it properly. They're not giving him any kind of proper medical treatment at all. Well, he's getting the standard care. No, we know it. If anybody's been there, knows what the standard care is, and that means they get you in, give you a couple of ibuprofen, and tell you go on about your way. That's standard care.
Yeah. I know Edward Brown, I don't know if you remember the story, the case of Ed and Elaine Brown. They got locked up, and I call it death by prison. He suffered kidney stones, passing kidney stones, and sciatic nerve problems in jail with maybe an ibuprofen if he was lucky. He said each problem lasted 6 weeks, and it was pure torture.
Yeah, they don't care. The problem is, and I can attest to this too, our prisons and our jails have been privatized.
Yeah. That
is a serious, serious misgiving, misappropriation of justice. Pitt County Detention Center in Greenville, North Carolina, I'll give you an example. I was incarcerated back in 1994 there, and I've come to find out that they received $40,000 per inmate per year.
Yep. It's even more in the CMU. It's a lot more than that.
I'm sure it's even more than that now. This was back in 1994 when I found this out. $40,000 per inmate per year.
Yep, and the judges, and they make money on the stocks that they buy in these private systems.
Yep, and you figure this now. There were close to 900 inmates at that jail. Think about how much that is.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Horrendous amount of money.
We just had a friend who was in solitary confinement for nothing. They said, "Oh, we made a mistake. 30 days solitary," and they forgot he was down there.
That is sad.
Yeah.
That is really sad.
But prayers got him out of there. Thank God.
Yeah.
They let him out on New Year's Eve, I think, Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve.
Back to Joe Robertson. This man was thrown in solitary confinement himself because he said something about the treatment he was being given for his medical condition, and they threw him in solitary confinement. Took away his phone privileges. Nobody had heard from him for a long time. Lindsay, she is the family advocate for Joe Robertson, Lindsay Szymanski, and she's done an outstanding job.
Yes, she has.
She's been faithful. She's been out there just about every day, just like Kelly was for our people in Oregon. And she's done video after video after video pleading with people to send letters, emails, make phone calls. And I don't know, she got a disturbing letter about, like I said, I think he had pneumonia or something. Just what I believe was last week, and it's very disturbing. They don't. This is an elderly man. They're trying to kill him by prison, like you said, death by prison.
Yep.
They already tried to give him what they call diesel therapy when they moved him around right after he got sentenced. They moved him to 2 different locations. The first one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, please forgive me if I'm wrong, if I'm misquoting this, but I think he was in there with Clive and Bundy the first time around. The first stop that he was at. Then they moved him to Colorado, which is right there about where Lindsay is, and Ollie, his friend Ollie. They're good friends, and it's only like 15 minutes down the road from each of them, and they're not even allowing him visitors, even though he knows both of these people, Lindsay and Ollie. They're refusing to allow them to be to visit him because they say, well, you didn't know him before he went to prison, but yet they've got pictures to prove that they knew him.
Wow.
They know him. And they're refusing him visitors. They moved him a couple of thousand miles away from his wife in Montana. He's in Colorado now.
That's ridiculous.
Just ridiculous. They move you out of state instead of leaving you in the state where you reside in. They move you hundreds and sometimes thousands of miles away from where you live, just like Schaefer Cox.
That's right.
So
for thought crime.
Spring 20.
Thought crime, where's the line?
Our justice system needs to be overhauled and fixed. Donald Trump said he was going to drain the swamp. Well, drain the swamp of corruption, starting with our federal and state judges.
Amen.
Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Don't give them a pension.
You know, in Schaefer Cox's federal case, they brought in a judge that was in retirement so that he couldn't be impeached. And he was partly deaf, and he couldn't even hear what was going on. And a lot of times he would defer to the prosecution, you know, because he couldn't hear what anyone was saying in the courtroom. It's a crazy situation.
You know, they brought in this judge for the Hammonds as well. I believe he came out of retirement, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
He was appointed, just like Anna Brown was appointed by the Clintons.
Yeah.
Get this now. Anna Brown has stake in land out there at the Malheur Refuge, where the Hammonds have their land.
No doubt.
That's stake in the land. Now, she is doing everything she can to make sure that our people go away so that she can get what she wants. Mm-hmm. She's a greedy, I'm going to say it like this, God forgive me, but if it offends anybody, I don't care. She's a whore.
Yeah, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yep. Money grubbing whore. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that in a sexual way, folks, so if you get offended, I don't care. She wants money. She wants to retire rich.
Wow.
But here's the thing, Anna Brown. You can't take that with you when it's your time to go, so you might as well just stop. All of them need to just stop. What are they going to do when they have to face God?
Yeah.
They will have to face God.
I was so pleased when Ryan Bundy represented himself and got a not guilty verdict.
That was awesome.
Yeah, he really rocked it, that one. There's a really fantastic little thin paperback book called The Kennel. It's written from a dog's perspective about the private prison industrial complex, and we mail it out to all the prisoners that we advocate for. It's excellent. It's called The Kennel by Dr. Kent Hovind, and he wrote it from jail. So he wrote it under a pen name so he wouldn't get in trouble. He wrote it under Elijah Green, and I think it's only about $7, but it's an excellent read for anybody who's tough on crime. You know, we were tough on crime before we learned about this case. And when we learned about this case, I guess about 2 years ago, our eyes were wide open. We woke up to this big debacle of misjustice, and our lives haven't been the same ever since.
You know what I'd like to see justice for?
Who?
Waco and Ruby Ridge in particular.
Oh, amen. We go down to Waco once a year for the memorial and hang out with Clive and Doyle and the families down there, and it's just disgusting. I don't care what that guy was doing in that house. There was no reason to kill all those innocent women and children. It's just a travesty.
You know, that was a setup. Those things that they were having against him, trying to press charges against him with, were complete bullcrap to begin with.
Yeah,
he was trying to expose the corruption of what was starting to take place under the first George Bush.
Yeah.
You know, the first George Bush was he agreed with the UN, he signed the paperwork to go ahead and start implementing Agenda 21 2030. And he was starting to that, so he sent his boys in there to kill him.
Yeah.
So he tried to come up with fake charges, now just like the Gestapo and the Nazi Germany and all this, that, and the other. And he came up with charges that were false just to discredit him.
Yep.
Just so they could have a reason to go after him.
They don't like the light shined on them. They run like rats, and they go after whoever's shining the light on them. And that's what Schaefer was doing up in Alaska. He was shining the light on all the pedophiles that were up there. There was a big pedophile ring of people up there abusing allegedly abusing kids, you know. And that's what put him in their crosshairs. And that's why they went after him.
That's a pattern here.
Yep.
It's starting to emerge Pizzagate here.
Yep.
That's why they say, oh, this is fake news. No, it's not fake news. It came from reliable sources that have never been found to be wrong yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not news. The fake news is the ones that don't want to report it.
Yep.
The ones that call it on. Oh, boy, this burns me up. This burns me up right here. Of all mainstream media outlets to call somebody fake news, what was it? MSNBC said that was fake news. All of them, even, oh yes, and Snopes. Oh yeah, of course, Snopes. They added into the list of sites to trust on Facebook. But kidding me? Everybody knows that Snopes is a husband and wife. Anybody that's in the know, that is.
Yep.
They know that they're run by a husband and wife team that operate out of their garage, getting paid by the federal government to counter the real news.
Yep.
I used to love it. People said, but Stokes said, and I just started laughing. Oh my God, are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really know who Stokes is? You know what they are? Really? So I'm glad. Let me just put it this way. You don't see people saying, but Stokes says anymore, because people are starting to wake up to Snopes.
Oh,
and I hope that people are waking up to the fact that Facebook has labeled them as news sites that can be trusted. Then maybe they can see just how liberal and communist Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg really are.
Yeah, you know, we can really thank mainstream media for Facebook, because if it wasn't for mainstream media being so terrible, I don't think Facebook would have been so successful with the Patriot community. And I know that personally, Facebook has been a big part of my life. And you know, just in the example of this call tonight, we met through Facebook, and I met so many wonderful patriots through Facebook. And I thank mainstream media for that. It made the news feed on my Facebook really important to me in my life. And I thank Obama for the tyranny, because I met a lot of great Christians and I was born again.
Man.
Yeah.
And I thank Obama for being the best gun salesman in history.
Yeah. That's so true. What I would offer for a prayer request is that we have more whistleblowers coming forward, bold, courageous whistleblowers who have the inside information to come forward, and I pray for support for those people that come forward. I think that's really important right now.
I agree. They need to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Whistleblowers used to be slaves, but now they're being prosecuted. I mean, look at Edward Snowden. Let's take him for example. He blew the whistle on the government corruption and how they were stepping into our daily lives against our Fourth Amendment rights, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing they did was slap him with a treason charge and label him as a terrorist, a domestic enemy. Really? Are you kidding me? That man's a patriot. I'm sorry. Anybody that disagrees with me, I'm sorry.
No, I agree.
That is what he. And then they want to say, even, oh my God, John McCain and Lindsey Graham, the two biggest rhinos I've ever seen in my life,
Yeah.
label Julian Assange as a threat to our nation. No, He's not. Julian Assange did America a favor, folks. Better be thanking him.
Yeah. You know, speaking of John McCain, you probably already know this, but we probably have another 1,000 POWs over in Asia and Vietnam and Laos and over there, and the whole story's been buried.
Yeah, but how many of them do you think might still be alive after?
Well, we don't know, but I did hear the woman whose husband was a POW on the Joyce Riley Power Hour radio show, and she said that at the time there was probably more than between 1,000 and 2,000 of them, and I bet a lot of them are still alive. And McCain keeps burying the story, and they keep advocating to get a listing of who's there, and it's a big mess. People can look into, you know, if you don't want to look at political prisoners over here, look at the ones over there.
And McCain, of all people, should be their biggest advocate.
Yeah, he's a phony baloney. Look how fat he was when he came out, and look at how skinny all the real ones are.
Yeah. I believe that he probably is a turncoat from the get-go.
Definitely.
John McCain, I mean, he said some things that were good, then turn around and screw it all up by saying something else that was stupid. Oh my gosh! And the way what gets me is sometimes he would be all over Obama's case, right? And turn around, next thing you know, he's praising Obama. Somebody, he's a good president. So he's not.
What a phony baloney.
He's freaking kidding me. He's not even a president. He's a traitor. He's a Muslim brother to the plant.
Yeah, none of them are good. None of those congressmen, none of those senators are any good, because we reached out. You know, I've been a birther since at least 2010, 2008, and we reached out to all the senators, all the congressmen. We sent them all sheriff kits from Sheriff Joe Arpaio's Cold Case Posse with Mike Zullo, so they're all aware of what a natural-born citizen is, the common sense. You don't have dual citizenship with another country to be leader of your country and your military, and you don't offer up a fake birth certificate that a 5-year-old could print up. So even our sheriffs, we presented to congressmen, we took it to our local sheriffs, presented the whole case. Nobody cared.
I pray that Trump does drain that swamp, though. That's got to be our greatest enemy right now is people in Congress that say that they are our government. They're not our government, folks. They're our representatives. We are the government. Speak out. Stop being afraid to speak out, because otherwise you get what you deserve.
Yeah, we got what we deserve. That's for sure.
Yeah, when we go out, well, it's not just our generation. I mean, it started back in the 50s.
Oh, yeah. I spoke to some military people who had PTSD, and they told me part of their PTSD was because they were abroad when they should have been fighting the commies here at home. And I think the problem with the general population is they got Stockholm Syndrome on 9/11 when they saw the Twin Towers falling in their own footprint in the path of most resistance at free fall speed. I think that struck fear and paralyzed our whole country, and everybody's so afraid it's ridiculous.
Yep. Angie, there's a clip up there on the sound thing. If you can find Robert Welch 1958 speech and play it, if you don't mind. But see, he realized this way back then, right? This started right after World War II. And Robert Welch with the John Birch Society was absolutely on point with this. He saw it then, and he laid out a plan that was then followed. Apparently, they thought it was all cool, this, that, and the other. Oh, it's a great speech.
Now, what is it for?
Robert Welch, his 1958. This will take a few minutes. So hang tight, Erin, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, it's very informative.
Robert Welch predicts 2016.
What's that?
Robert Welch.
A part of that plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Now, here are the aims for the United States. 1, greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2, higher and then much higher taxes. 3, an increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4, wild inflation of our currency. 5, government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6, greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily lives. This is to be accompanied, naturally and automatically, by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical elimination of our state lines. There is a many-faceted drive at work to have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational system, leading to complete federalization of our public education. 9, a constant hammering into the American consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace. Peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government, which amount to a piecemeal surrender of the rest of the free world and of the United States itself. So brush the insider's dust out of your eyes, my friends, and the communist soap suds out of your brain, and ask yourselves in all honesty, what on earth is wrong with the United States simply minding its own business? Or with having its foreign policy function primarily for the safety and benefit of the American people. Which is exactly what we had done for the first 140 years of our existence as a nation, to the incredible advantage of ourselves and everybody else. Everybody, that is, except a numerically small clique of power-lusting conspirators who had somehow inflicted themselves on a gullible world. While we turn to a very brief summarization of what we hope the John Birch Society will help and even sometimes lead the American people to accomplish during the next 15 years. 1, our first and most important specific undertaking should be to restore the complete independence of the United States. This includes our resolution to get us out of the United Nations and get the United Nations out of the United States. Two, we must once again make our money freely redeemable in gold at some realistic price. And we must take all practicable legislative steps to prevent a recurrence of the enormous thievery and other subversive crimes that have been perpetrated on the American people through a contrived inflation by every president from Franklin Roosevelt to Richard Nixon. Three, we should reduce the number of government bureaus, of government civilian employees, and the whole quantity of government by at least 50%. And we should achieve at least this much reduction in proper fashion through gradually convincing a majority of the American people of the wisdom of such a course. 4, we should withdraw all American troops from every spot on earth that is not American soil, except when and where such troops may be required as decided by Congress.
Amen.
To protect American lives and property from criminal vandalism. 5, we should get government out of the areas and functions and activities where government does not belong. Again, all steps to this end should be taken gradually, but nevertheless just as rapidly as enough of the American people can be persuaded to support such progress. Any such achievement will require a truly massive educational force, but that's exactly what we hope to build during the next 15 years. We could go ahead for at least 100 numbered items, but the John Birch Society will undoubtedly be working on more than that many specific projects, which will be laid out in its bulletins before another 180 months will have rolled around. And all of these projects will fit into the general pattern indicated by the 5 major objectives listed above. So let's really wind up this marathon monologue with one final thought. None of us can guarantee anything about what the future will bring. Your speaker knows what a job we have before us to rid our country of the scourge of communism within the next few years, and then to go ahead on our constructive program so well that 15 years from now, we shall already be entering an era of far less government, of a much sounder sense of responsibility, and, with God's help, of a better world. But I sincerely believe that it can be done, and this much I know, that every man and woman in this audience should leave here tonight feeling in his or her own mind and heart that it can and must be done, then it surely will be. And so, all of you patriots of good character, good conscience, and noble ideals, whom we can reach with the filmed version of this speech in 1,000 other audiences, it is with a great deal of confidence and energizing will to win that we invite you to join us in our epic undertaking. While to all of you great, wonderful friends in this present audience, I certainly extend my very deep thanks indeed for so much patience and attention. Thank you and good night.
Amen. I love that. I love that part about bring our troops home. We need to fight the commies here.
That's right. I want to address this. I meant to do this toward the beginning of the show, but kind of got a little off track here. Angie, I pray that you're ready for that song I told you I wanted to play, My Friend of Misery. I want to address somebody, and I don't do this often, but I'm going to call you right out tonight, M.D. Lauder. what you did the other day was despicable. Nobody likes you. Now, basically, I'm going to say it like this. What she said about the boy's family was despicable.
Yep.
It was disgusting.
Oh, it was disgusting, yeah. The government took her family's breadwinner and she has no income. So, yes, she is going out there and doing what she can to survive. Her family is doing what they can to survive. This is a grieving family, folks. I'm going to compare her to traitors like Mark McConnell and Hillary Clinton with their false accusations, their lies, and their attacks. The song that we're getting ready to play here, I'm going to dedicate it just to you, M.D. Lauder, because an empty can rattles the most. Sound your own voice. It must soothe you. You fear that no one listens to you, but the truth is, no one really cares what you have to say. You are the most vile and evil and miserable people attacking a grieving family without reason like that. You know, misery loves company. So, Angie, if you don't mind, please play this song. MD Lauder, this is for you, sweetie. This song is dedicated just to you. I'm sorry I had to do that, folks. I am super pissed off about that. One man's fun is another's hell. You know, James Hetfield said it best right there. She's having fun at the expense of a grieving family, and that's going to stop. I'm going to keep calling you out, Indy Lord, if you're listening. I pray you are. But I'm sorry I had to do that. Erin, I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut off and go off topic, but that's something I need to get off my chest. I had to dedicate this song squarely to her because that's exactly what it is. She's a miserable, vile human being.
I understand.
Are you still there with us?
Yeah, I understand. Listen, I have enough trolls of my own. I've been dealing with them for at least about 7 years now. And the worst thing you can do to make them mad, or the best thing you can do to make them mad, is ignore them. And that's what I do. I think what they're doing, they're energy vampires. And what they try to do is get you off track from your progressive work or your progress. They try to get you off track, put you in a bad mood, and the best thing to do is ignore them because they hate that more than anything. They're just jealous. That's all it is. They're jealous, and I pity them, and they'll face their maker one day, and vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and I leave it in the Lord's hands, and they don't bother me a bit. I just have to laugh at their pathetic, miserable lives that they have to be so lame.
You see, it pissed me off because it really broke Shalisa's heart that somebody would do that. Shalisa Finnegan Vance's heart. That somebody would even have the nerve to just come out and attack them like that for no reason.
Yeah, but you know what? It all worked together for good because that girl, the next day, she had the most enormous outpouring of love, the daughter, Chalice.
Yep.
She was flooded with love and prayers and respect, and I didn't even know, I mean, I knew who she was, but I had never listened to anything before that. But thanks to that troll, I listened to the girl, the daughter, and it broke my heart. I miss my dad too, and if she was listening right now, I would tell her, you knew your dad, and you knew everything he was about, and you know what he thinks in all situations, and you know what his opinions are, and they're in your DNA, and they're in your heart, and he's always with you, and he's looking down right now, and he's saying, amen, daughter, thank you for being so strong.
And she's coming back around. She came here for an event last month, and she's coming here February 23rd again right here. So got another event organized here, and she'll be coming back. And I had the pleasure and honor of meeting met his wife and his daughter Tara back in July in D.C. And oh my gosh, you're talking about how powerful people are. Just the most amazing people. The whole family are. David Fry's parents are amazing and humble people. I love them to death. Miss Satchel and Bill, I love them to death. They're awesome people. I don't know what other words to describe them, but they all are just wonderful people that you're missing out. If you don't know them, you're missing out.
Yeah, the best
There's
people.
some real good people.
All things work together for those who love God and serve God.
Right.
And it's brought together the best people.
I know that Shalice is a very, very strong lady. Very strong lady. She recovered, I don't know if she's quite recovered, but she's definitely a lot stronger woman than she was when I first spoke to her on my radio show a couple weeks after her dad was assassinated. And she's come a long ways, and her dad would be extremely proud of her. I'm proud of her. I'm proud of the whole family for the way they picked up the pieces and tried to continue Mr. LaVoy's legacy, what he stood for, and I commend him for that. The funny thing is, people like Indy Lauder, they have to resort to the most childish things. And when you go and you call them out for what they were doing, like earlier this year, they were constantly hounding Sarah Redbud and Lisa Bundy and this, that, and the other, and I called them out for it. And the only thing they could do was post my criminal record on Facebook. But you know what I did? And it shut them up. I turned around and shared it too. Oh my God. Yeah, they thought that was hurting me. But you see, here's the thing. I was up front and honest about it from the beginning. And they thought that they could use it against me as a weapon like it was going to hurt me. I was like, really? Here, I might as well, everybody's sharing away. I might as well join the party. Here, I'm sharing it too.
Exactly.
So that's the only thing that they could attack me with. The only thing they could attack me with. And that's the only thing they will ever be able to attack me with. The only way for them to shut me up is to kill me. And they're not going to do that either. They might try to send their goons out with their government pals, because that's exactly what they are, is paid provocateurs. At the very least, they're paid provocateurs. Her and her buddies. And they know who they are. I've already called them out before. But apparently they call themselves, what is it, the Three Musketeers? What is it? The Three Amigos is what they call themselves, okay. So they're at the very least government-paid provocateurs. And they're going back along with the federal government's ideals and agenda. You know, they send in these little provocateurs and informants. And it's all part of communism.
Yep.
It's all like Nazi socialism, which is basically communism.
Yep.
And they're going right along with it, and they act like it's no big deal to them, like they enjoy doing.
Yep. The one who went after Schaefer Cox, he just wrote a book, and he called it like taking down the militia with beer and badassery. He called it. He's got badassery on the front of his book that he wrote, and he's trying to profit off taking down Schaefer. He's a scumbag.
Yeah, they're all scumbags, and they know it.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to play that song, because, you know, it starts out by saying, you know, you stood there screaming, fearing no one would listen to you. And then the second verse starts out saying, you still stood there screaming, no one caring about these words you tell, because nobody does care about the words they tell.
Yeah. I don't even say their names, and it drives them crazy.
Well, I had to call them out this time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sick of seeing this stuff going on. It's causing division. They're trying to look. They done started something that came in between our girls out there in Oregon that were standing for our people going to court. me, I'm all the way on the other side of the country.
Mm-hmm.
But it really bothers me that they're trying to bring this division so they won't be out there in mass numbers and stand the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask my friends, and I'm not going to name them out by name on the air because they're my friends, and I love them both to death, but they know who they are. I want to ask them to please put these differences aside no matter what's going on for the greater good of our people here that are facing decades in prison.
Yeah.
Please put it this. I realize that what's going on is it's a government-sponsored attack.
Mm-hmm.
Divide and conquer strategy. Please put it to the side, girls. Please, for the sake of our people, put it to the side. Deal with it later. In the meantime, we need unity. Angie, how many people are on the line, Steve? Are there any people on the line?
We do. I have two, one in San Antonio, Texas, and one in Waco.
I think Alan's on the line, I think.
Alan? What's the last four digits of the phone numbers?
Alan Eccles.
7220.
That's Preston.
7220 and 3350.
7220 is Preston, and 3 what?
3350.
3350. That number sounds familiar too. Let's see. Can you bring Preston up?
Sure can.
Over. Hello, Preston.
Hello, Jeff. How's it going?
How are you, brother?
Well, I had to work today, a little sore.
Yeah, same here. I'm a little sore because I had to sit down all day and watch bottles run by, and it kind of lulled me to sleep almost while I'm sitting there doing it.
Hey, you got a job, though, right? That's a plus.
Yeah, well, the assignment that they had me on today, it came to an end today, but they're talking about moving me on to a third shift position, which is a long-term assignment, which is getting my foot in the door for permanency at Dawson Long. So that would be amazing. Plus the $2.50 an hour raise.
I heard the people in the White House are having a hard time getting jobs when they're leaving now. They can't find anything.
What is that? It shouldn't have been serving a traitor.
Yep.
Well, he's worth a lot more now than he was when he got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. He probably did a little side deal with Iran.
Yeah.
Which is why...
Well, you got to remember the Obamacare website. That was between Michelle and her old classmate from
Canada.
college. So there's plenty of money there. It's hidden in the background.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, what you got for us today, brother?
Well, I think, the way you got Gary Hunt's problems here. Remember, he's given 24 hours to cough up all his paperwork and I guess his methods and everything else for, ratting out the informants or finding out about the informants. And then the judge's order, of course.
Hi, guys. I hate to interrupt you right now. I'm so sorry that we have a caller that called in. It's Miss Carol Buddy, so I'll be bringing her online now.
Awesome. Hi, Miss Carol.
Hi, Carol. You're online.
Hello. How are you?
How are you this year?
Hey, we're getting a wonderful rainstorm. I may have poor service because of the rain, but I'm enjoying the rain, and I'll give you all the time I got.
That's awesome. How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing just great. Just great.
What have you found out from your attorneys?
Well, we're just trying to all get together on one page because right now, there's a million ways to peel an orange, but you still all get to eat the orange in the end. And so we're all trying to peel it the same direction. So it's really hard when you have 17 defendants and we're all trying to stay in the same lane. But it's working, and God is so good to us, and so I just had to identify witnesses and different photos and pictures, and it just always takes longer than you think.
Oh, I can imagine. I can definitely imagine. Let me ask you. I'm not going to ask you that because we don't want to get out there. So I'm forget the question I was going to ask. How are people doing? How's your family doing?
My family is doing amazingly well. My daughter-in-law is with my little grandkids. They've been able to still stay home and take care of their families and pay the bills, and they're healthy and they're strong, and we're excited and hopeful that they'll get their daddies home pretty soon. My sons and my husband that sat in prison, they're kind of getting tired of being in there, but my husband Cliven says, there's still a lot of fight in this, old man, and I'm not giving up till I win.
I knew that's right. So it sounds like their spirits are still up.
Their spirits are up for the most part, and of course, we are looking forward to the upcoming court proceedings and having our day in court, and hopefully I have no doubt. I have faith in the jury system. We have done nothing wrong, and I think the American people and the jury will see that, and I think they'll be exonerated, and they're going to come home soon, home to America and home to their families, and we're looking forward to that day.
Well, I pray that Ryan tries to bring God back into the conversation in the courtroom like he did up there in Oregon.
Well, God is so good to us, and we give Him credit for everything that has gone on, and it was really through the grace of God that they got exonerated in Oregon, and we have the same God down here.
Amen. They try to put God on trial, like I was saying a few minutes ago. They try to put God on trial. God will show up and show out. He doesn't like when especially the justice system will not allow him to be brought up in their courtroom, why do they make them swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help them God, if they don't want to allow God to be in the courtroom, period.
I agree, and I think, I know when I was up in Oregon, I went up for the last days of the court when they were doing their final statements, and you could feel God's Spirit in that room, and it left when the prosecutors took back over, but when the defendants were having their final statements, it was amazing. The Spirit was there. Even the media felt it. It was amazing.
I agree. We're always keeping you in prayer and your family and the rest of our political prisoners. We've got an advocate for Schaefer Cox on the line, too. Are you familiar with Schaefer Cox's story? Miss Carol?
Hello, I lost you for a minute. I think I'm back.
Okay. So we've got an advocate for Schaefer Cox and his family on the line. Are you familiar with Schaefer Cox's story?
I am just minimal, very minimal, but I do recognize the name.
Well, Erin Davis is on with us. She's been an advocate for Schaefer Cox, and he's one of our political prisoners as well. You said he'd be in Illinois. Is that correct, Erin?
Yes, Marion, Illinois, a CTU, which stands for Communications Management Unit, which I suspect that's where the feds want to send the Bundys, and that's my concern.
Okay.
Most people don't know and never heard of a Communication Management Unit. It's run by the Counterterrorism Unit from Virginia. It's to stop all First Amendment rights of political prisoners from speaking to the media and their families and put them thousands of miles away from their home. It's diabolical.
Yeah. And what kind of shocks my conscience and should stop the conscience of we the people is why do we not know about this? Are we so asleep that we do not know what's going on under our noses? Does it have to affect us personally before we wake up?
Excellent question. I wish I had the answer.
I do too. I wish I did.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it. It's a black site. It was intentionally kept quiet so people don't know about these things. If people did know about these things, then it would be a whole different story. Maybe people would start exercising their First Amendment more.
I do believe that more people are starting to become aware and more people are starting to wake up. You know, this is greater than any of these political prisoners because it can happen to anybody. And if they get away with what they're doing right now, it's going to, like a snowball rolling down a hill, it's just going to get bigger and bigger because we have a government that is totally out of control and they don't want to lose 1 ounce of their control.
Yeah, and they're like a dog off the leash. It's our responsibility to put the dog back on the leash.
You are so right.
Not just the leash, but put him in the cage. Put the dog in the cage.
I like that.
This dog happens to be rabbit.
Yeah, it does.
The rabbit dog.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi, Carol Bundy. This is Alan in Texas. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I hear you very well, thank you. I just now, Angie finally told me how to actually speak on here. Cal asked if I was on here earlier, and I didn't know which button to push. I've been listening to Erin and describing these horrendous situations, and I just got to say from my heart that what your family's going through has certainly opened up the eyes of millions of people in this country to atrocities that have been going on for years. Had it not been for the things that have gone on at your ranch and in Mohi, Oregon, many of us wouldn't know about these CMU privately owned prisons that the government has been locking people up in and just totally removing them from society against all of their rights. We wouldn't know about those people. Your family has sacrificed greatly, but it has served God's purpose to open up the eyes to atrocities that we were all blind about. It's like what Evan and Ryan got declared innocent in Oregon. And then what did they do? Instead of going ahead and sending them to Nevada to start preparing for the case there? No. They sent them to Washington State, to a whole different prison, where Evan and Ryan were able to witness to others up there and show them the light. So the sacrifice of your family has not been in vain, and we will always stand with you.
Amen.
Thank you so much. We do from the prayers of the people. We feel that strength so strong that it helps us be strong.
You know, Miss Carol, I was watching a lot of the videos with Kelly outside of the jail there in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
While they were still there, before the trial, all the people that came out from the jail that knew Ammon, had met Ammon in there, they had nothing but high praise for him and Ryan and all of them. Nothing but high praise. And they said that they would come out and agree to do a live stream, get on the live stream with Kelly. And they were talking about how much they had learned from them since they've been in there. Not just Ammon and Ryan, but all of them, you know, all of them that were there. They had nothing but high praise for those people. And that's a testament to the character of our people that the federal government is attacking, waging war against. Because that's what it is. They're waging war on American citizens.
They are, you know, my family sits down in Trump in a private given a speedy trial. They've not been given pretrial release, and in my case, not given the counsel of our choice. She refused to let Mr. Freeman in the court. But I go down there to visit them. I get to sit on a telephone with about a 18-inch cord and look at a poor quality television screen. If my husband or sons had been convicted and were serving time down there, I could go down and have a contact visit with them, sit in the same room with them, and share whatever I could get from their vending machine. But they have not been found guilty. They are innocent, and they have no right whatsoever. I have not seen my son, my husband, or any of those other prisoners face to face for almost a year now.
Terrible. God help us.
Well, Ms. Carol, I did a show about this a couple weeks ago. Had Kathleen Saucier on. I'm not sure if you know who she is. She's the mother of the Navy sailor. Yeah, she's the mother of the Navy sailor who got prison time for taking a few selfies on a nuclear sub that weren't shared with anybody, and they weren't hacked.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, the subject was we now have hope. With the election of Donald Trump, we have hope. And I'm not saying that he's our Savior, not by any means, because there's only one Savior, and his name is Jesus Christ. However, he effectively has let us know repeatedly since the day he was elected that he's heard us. And we've got to hold their feet to the fire. If they told us that they've heard us, they need to act on it. Because apparently our people are being forgotten by the federal government. He said that the forgotten man will be forgotten no longer. Well, it's time for him to show us who he is and what he's about. If our forgotten will not be forgotten anymore, like say for Fox and you guys, Bundy and Pete Santilli and Joe DeLemus and all of them, and not only them, but the people that are still facing trial in Oregon, like Shauna Cox and all of them. We need to do this, hold his feet to the fire. He says he's going to drain the swamp. Well, the swamp isn't just in Washington. The swamp is in every court system in this country. And it needs to be drained. Taylor Brown and Judge Navarro are included in that.
The thing of it is, who are these judges accountable to? They're not accountable to anybody, and that is not what the framers of this country and the Constitution meant for our country. There's supposed to be a checks and balances, and they have free reign.
That's right. They're appointed judges instead of being elected, which they should be elected judges. That's my firm belief. I have a problem with all these people who elect themselves as just appointing themselves as judges, because they can't be held accountable either. I have a big problem with that part of the common law, because that shouldn't be done for the country. Judges, federal judges, anybody, but in North Carolina, I know that judges are elected, state judges anyway. State judges are elected. It should be supported in the system.
They barely even get a slap on the wrist when they get in trouble.
Judges were originally intended to be mediators, arbiters, the champion of the people. That's what the original intention was. They've been corrupted by the love of money and greed. The federal government has no reason to be passing these laws. We should be responsible to our state governments. And the federal government has just has bribed and corrupted and turned the entire system around for profit. And that's just not right.
In Nevada, the federal government claims almost 87%. They claim ownership and management over 80% of our state. And my ranch, that's in Clark County, Nevada, my rights, they're not privileges. I own rights, livestock rights to run on my ranch. Those are state rights filed with the state, and I have a state title for that. What am I doing in a federal court? What is my family doing in a federal court when it's a state issue? And I had no contract with the federal government. This is our big question, is why are we even in a federal court?
Why are you even in court to begin with? That should be the real question.
Yes.
I have a question for you, Ms. Carroll.
Okay.
With the two new monument designations, how directly does that affect you?
It's right on our ranch. But as Private says, they can call it whatever they want. I still have state rights to use that, and we're going to use it. And we're going to demand that the state protect us while we do.
And the Constitution was written basically to protect life, which includes property. They have been for decades. It's part of the one world order agenda. How close is that property that Reed's son is trying to the Chinese deal with the solar?
You're kind of cutting in and out. Is that my phone or yours?
It might be mine. How close is the property that Harry Reid's son Rory is trying to use for the solar farm for the Chinese deal? The $1 billion.
Yeah, there's been a little confusion probably with the press. I don't have verification, but my husband and I believe that they don't really want where I actually have our cattle for that, but they're using it for a barter tool. They probably said we will make sure that this is a national monument, and in return we want to build our solar farm. And it's in the same, I believe, in the same county, just at the other end. So we believe that it was used for a bargaining tool. How can Harry Reid go in 20 years ago to be one of our state senators, having just, $100,000 a year salary and come out a multi-millionaire? That is not what is expected of our senators. So he's made a lot of deals with a lot of people somewhere in order to do that. And Rory Reid is following on his coattails.
Rory Reid is what?
Following on his dad's coattails. He's making money off the deals that his dad's making.
Oh, of course. And Harry Reid said, well, I'm going to retire. Of course. You know what, though? I pray that it comes out in open court what he's done to you guys, and that somehow or another there's an investigation opened up against him and Hillary Clinton with her to deal with Uranium One up there and where the Hammond Ranch is, because that's the whole reason the Hammonds are there. That's the whole reason the Hammonds are locked up, is because of Hillary Clinton and her deal with Russia. They wanted their land for the uranium.
And they threatened the Hammonds so severely that the Hammonds were afraid to say anything. And that's where when my family got involved, when Ammon said, we've got to do something, that's when he said, these people are afraid to stand up for their own rights in their own county, in their own country. And so Ammon, he said, this is enough. This is enough, federal government. You cannot keep doing this. And we the people of America to see that this is happening all over the West, not just to us, but to everybody. It's just we choose to throw it out there for everybody to see. It's happening everywhere in these Western states. It's probably where you are too. I'm just not familiar with the East Coast.
Well, we've got some kind of land issues. down public beaches to certain activities, which is crazy. You shouldn't even be forced to do that. They're forcing dairy farmers out of business around here, too. Preston and Alan, this question is for you guys. What do you know about Ken Aderholt? About who? Ken Aderholt. He's a rancher down there in the Red River, or he was. Federal government came in.
The rancher on the Red River in Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where BLM is making their big push in Texas to confiscate and run people off. I've been to a rally in support of those ranchers up in Wichita Falls, and the BLM is really convoluting the laws. And fortunately, here in Texas, we're putting up a fair fight. Not nearly as strong as we should be, but as of now, it is still unresolved. Land that has been in the Aderholt family for longer than the BLM has existed is now under hold. Mr. Aderholt cannot even use that land as collateral, which is a normal business practice for ranchers to do improvements on his land. Even the portion of his ranch where his own personal house has stood for generations has been declared part of the riverbank. You know, and they're trying to take half his land. And so far that fight is still going on. BLM's not going to win this one, but they're sure making life miserable for those ranchers. It was several hundred square miles of land along the Texas-Oklahoma border that they put in jeopardy.
Can I ask you a question? I think when did BLM, I thought that Texas was pretty solid in not allowing any of, like, the management of BLM into Texas. Is this because it's the Red River that they stepped in?
Yes, it is. It's because of the, I'm trying to remember the river terms, the egress and regress of the Red River bank. And the proper definition, as ranchers go by, is the median between the water level and the permanent vegetation level. Well, BLM is going, well, that might be about 2 miles inland, you know, in a flood stage. And so it's been a very, very sticky, particular surveyors involved situation to allow these people to own their own land.
Yeah. Now, in our case, they come out, and a lot of ours is the media war. You know, they said we owed $1.2 million, and that's why they put us in trespass. Well, we don't owe that money. We've never had a bill. BLM themselves even says there's no bill, but the media has made it sound like we were that, you know, tax evaders or whatever.
Really? So you say that the BLM does not say that you owe the money?
No, that's all a media thing. There's never been a bill. We told BLM we fired them from management. Remember, Bureau of Land Management. Biden said back in the early 1990s, I no longer need your management services. I will manage my ranch myself. I live in the state of Nevada, Clark County. I will manage my ranch. And that's when we decided, under their terms and conditions, we could no longer allow them to, quote-unquote, manage our ranch. And you were talking about Donald Trump giving his hope, and you're right. We haven't felt hope in America for a long time. I don't expect him to come and just wave his wand and let my family go. I want them to look at the budget that BLM has, what they're spending on these trials alone, multi-million dollars on these trials, and say, this is enough. This isn't in our $1 trillion debt to do this. You guys are gone. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, Harold, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
There was a little Facebook rumor going around, and I don't know if it's true or not, and we had mentioned that before you got on tonight, that the BLM or someone has offered you $52 million for your land if you'll just pack up and go. And I heard somebody else say that was totally fake. Is it true or not?
I will tell you where that came from. I don't know where that rumor came from, but the Center for Biological Diversity, which is a big environmental group, is the one that has caused all this problem for us. They're the environmentalists. They don't want the cows there. They want to save the tortoise. I had the ex-leader of that come to my ranch, and I said, I don't know why I'm letting you on my ranch, but I'm a nice person, so I'm letting you here. And he wanted to know what it would take for me, and this was just about a year ago. He wanted to know what it would take for me to get my cattle up, and I told him, I will give you the same offer my husband did in 2014 to the county commissioners of Clark County. We would sell our private water rights for half the money that Clark County, Nevada had in their coffer for, they collect fees, like if somebody's building a house, they have to pay almost $550 so that there's no turtles under their house. And I told them at the time, I figure that's about $50 million. So if you want my land, it's bad enough, have Clark County buy it for $50 million. And he stood up and said, really, that's all it would take? And I said, yep. Of course, they never came up with the money. And the reason I said that was for 2 points. To prove, first off, that Clark County controls the water the state water in our land, and to prove that my water rights were worth something. Were they for sale? No, not at all. We don't want to sell. This is our heritage. This is our family where we grew up. But it was to make a point. How that got on Facebook, I have no idea. But BLM, we don't acknowledge BLM. If they made that offer, I don't know. I don't accept any letters from them. I don't accept phone calls from them. I don't talk to them.
Well, thank you for explaining that. I knew it was, must have been based on some rumor or something. And yes, all property has a value, but we're glad that you're sticking it out. And so there's a lot of us that sure do want to come and spend some time helping you in your roundups and such. If you're in Texas, you have that beautiful flat country that grows high up. I probably would love to be in Texas. And we live in the most rugged part. When you come see this, you think, how does a cow live? We have these old Brahma cows, and they just live on rocks and a little bit of water. And, we always tell the kids when you get lost, step on a rock so that you don't. And I think that's what the cows do, too, step on a rock so they can get a little bit of water. But we're blessed that we can go out and get those old cows off the desert. And as I tell the American people, we are producers. And these cows are a renewable resource. They go out there, they eat the grass, they fertilize the grass, they aerate the soil, and then they make hamburger and steaks for the people of America. I think America doesn't realize where their food comes from.
Well, it's my understanding that the desert tortoise actually thrives off of cow dung. Am I correct?
They do. They do.
And they're trying to say that the desert tortoise is in danger because of the cows. That's crazy.
It is crazy. There's no proof whatsoever. It's just the environmental boys that have more control, and it's about making money.
It's crazy that they care more about turtles than they do about women, children, and daddies.
Yes, you are so right. And it's not just my family and these political prisoners. It's like the gentleman you're talking about. But did you say he was in Iowa, Indiana? Where is he?
He's in Marion, Illinois.
Illinois.
But he's from Alaska.
That prison is full of people like him.
Yeah.
And that's where I challenge the people of America to start waking up and see what's going on around them.
Hebrews 13:3 says we need to remember our brothers in bonds.
Yeah. We need to love our neighbor. When people ask why my family was up in Oregon with the Hammonds, it's because we saw a fellow rancher struggling, and we reached out to our neighbor. And I think that in today's world, there's so many people that don't even know who lives next door.
Right.
It's fun to love your neighbor and get to know who they are. They're awesome people.
Right. I also heard that they were going to send in drone strikes to the campers that were on your property. Did you hear that?
Yeah, there was a lot of rumors. I think they wanted to put a lot of fear in the people. And I wish everybody could have been here to have the feeling of peace that was on here, because for once, we the people stood and was in control, and we weren't afraid of drones they just fly over. But you know what? This is how I looked at it. God's in control, and if it was my time to go, I would have gone willingly. But it was our time to stand, and we stood firmly.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Well, Miss Carol.
Yes.
It's my understanding that the Bureau of Land Management was originally created to settle disputes between the ranchers and keep cattle rustlers from taking other ranchers' cattle. They've grossly overstepped their bounds now since then. They've come a long ways from being an advocate for the ranchers to where they are now and being an enemy of the ranchers out there. Am I correct with that?
Yes, you are. And our rights go back to, well, even before we were a state. They follow my husband's mother's side, so when people want to go on the internet, they'll say Bundy's weren't here until the early 1950s, which is correct. But the Jensens were here and actually established Smokerville, and so our rights that we've gotten inherited have come from the Jensen side of the family, long before there was ever a Bureau of Land Management. They were established. They did do one good thing, is they did adjudicate and vested the water rights. So they did that, but then they began to control and say what we could do with our ranches. This is why when 53 ranchers in Clark County, Nevada, all but Simon, they all left.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Well, I guess that's the end of the show. I don't know. It's 2 hours, so that must be the end. Just hung up. Thanks for listening. Good night.